Brad Lacey, President and CEO of the Conway Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome you to this Facebook Live as we continue our coverage of COVID-19 pandemic and how it's impacting the business community. We have with us today someone who's no stranger to most of you. That's Bret Carroll, CEO of Conway Corporation. Bret, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Brad. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so you know, Bret and I have talked for a while about obviously the pandemic has changed business as usual for all of us. And there are some obviously unique things that Conway Corp does as our local provider of so many of our essential services. And so, Bret, I thought we would start out by talking about some things that you guys have had to change.
Yeah, the changes have been pretty dramatic. You know, we began to see load information in Europe where this pandemic started, and we knew that electric utilities over there saw pretty deep reductions in their electric load, electric consumption, and so we knew that there would be an impact like that in our community, and that's been the case. And what they projected was, you know, about a 10% reduction in load, and we've certainly seen that here. And so very quickly we decided or realized that was going to decrease our revenues, and so we had to take some steps to mitigate that. So you know, we canceled travel. We looked at our capital projects to see which ones we could cut, reduce, defer, because we don't want to do anything that sacrifices our mission or compromises our mission to serve our customers. And certainly, you know, cash is king, and you hear that talked about in finance circles all the time, but that's certainly the case now. And so anyway, we really began to look at that and very proactively look at projects that we could maybe cut, reduce, or defer, whether it be capital or O&M. And so we begin to take some of those measures. The prediction or the projection right now is that our revenues will be in the neighborhood of $9 million lower than what we budgeted. So we have to take some steps.
Across the board or just on
electric? That's across the board. That's electric, water, sewer, and cable TV. And of course, you know, we've got some of our big load that's shut down now, and that impacts us. And so anyway, and a lot of our costs are very fixed. And so that means we have to have cash to take care of those. And so, you know, we've been, from a financial perspective, those are some of the steps that we took. From an operational standpoint, you know, all of a sudden you've got crews that work very closely together that stage from the service center, and they're not able to maintain social distancing in that environment. So we began to stage crews from the home. They would go from the home directly to the job site. We stopped going into customers' homes, you know, whether it be troubleshooting internet or a video problem. We stopped going into customers' homes.
So let me stop you.
Sure.
Because you know that for those of you that know me, I am technologically inept in so many ways. And so I was one of the consumers that had a problem with my internet. And so I called it in, and obviously, you know, you have incredible 24/7 support that is right here locally, which I've always appreciated. And often you can troubleshoot, you know, on the phone and reset things. But I had a problem that was a little bit more advanced, and so I had one of your technicians come to my home, stand outside. We FaceTimed. I went into the equipment area that had my router, and we made some changes, and it worked.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that has become common practice for people in the community.
It has, and you know, our employees really take customer service very seriously, and you know, we're a public power company, but also we have the telecommunications side of our business, which is pretty unique, certainly in the state of Arkansas. And so, you know, most utilities are not going into people's homes. You know, well, we have to do that. And we had to figure out how do we adapt to that and take care of our customers who typically we'd have walked in and you know, pushed the reset button, or we'd have did some troubleshooting and figure out maybe their router was offline or whatever. Maybe they had some bad wiring. And so they've been really, our customer service people have been very good at finding ways to take care of those customers without even going into their home. Now, we had to work up a special operating procedure for going into businesses. We didn't go in businesses either initially, but there are some critical businesses, clinics, medical facilities that may have trouble with a phone line or a fax line, some device that they use to execute their business. And so we knew we needed to get in there and take care of that. That won't keep for 2 or 3 days, especially in this environment. So our guys, they asked the appropriate protocol questions, And then they, depending on the answers they suit up. They wear Tyvek suits. They have all the personal protective equipment to make sure they're safe from any potential infections, and that they don't. And then when they get out, they take all that stuff off and throw it away and start anew, so that they don't risk themselves or our customers. So, yeah, there were some really neat things we did from an operational standpoint to make sure that we could still take care of our mission, but primarily protect our customers and protect our employees. And we also, we have an old facility, Stone Down Wastewater Treatment Facility, that really was kind of decommissioned. Well, we recommissioned it to allow our workforce is pretty crowded down at the service center where most of our construction people are, and so we recommissioned Stone Dam Wastewater Treatment Facility, the admin building there, so they could go in and have office space so they could spread out. So that was something that came about. It was really part of our master plan anyway to reuse some of that space, and so we're able to do that to allow our employees to distance socially.
So obviously one of the things that you mentioned that makes Conway Corp so different is the internet service that you provide.
Yep.
And so with so many of us now working from home, what did you have to do maybe to the system to ensure that it was prepared for this?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, we really, if you think about, our core values and our strategic planning, making sure we have reliable, robust broadband is key. I mean, we had to be very proactive about that. So, I mean, we were making plans and doing improvements and making sure we had capacity before we even heard about a pandemic, because we want to be the broadband provider of choice, and so you only do that if you invest in the system. So thankfully for us, there wasn't a lot that had to be done. We monitored the capacity because all of a sudden you had people working from home, students learning from home, and so we monitored the capacity, and we really have seen not a great increase in our peak, but just more consistent usage throughout the week. I mean, you might find that the usage that you typically see on a Saturday and Sunday, you've got that Monday through Friday, and then the peaks change. They're at a different time during the day.
So there wasn't a great increase in demand. It's just more steady across the
for the
board.
most part. There was a little bit. We have seen a pretty dramatic increase in internet service tiers. If you all of a sudden have 4 or 5 people at home using the internet with 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 connected devices, then all of a sudden there's not as much throughput as there would have been otherwise. And so we've seen people upgrade to primarily our 50 megabit per second service tier. That's the one that's been most popular that people have upgraded to, just because they've needed additional bandwidth. And we saw 167% increase in internet upgrades in March over February. So we definitely have felt that and seen that from our customers. And so, also from a technology standpoint, we did not have a work from home policy or practice. I mean, we're a utility. We want people to be there to serve our customers. All of a sudden, if you'd asked me how many customers or how many employees could work from home, out of ballpark 20 or 25. We have 88 that are capable of working remotely. We have 72 that are doing it and being very productive. And so I was pleased and surprised by that, and we had to adapt to that very quickly. And also on the technology front, in terms of learning, we had about 70 families that did not have internet connection that needed that to continue their learning process. And so for whatever reason they didn't have it, and we partnered with a school district to provide them internet at no charge while this pandemic is going on, so they can continue. Education is a big part of what we do and a big part of why we were formed. And so to the extent that we could be a part of that, we wanted to be. And so anyway, that was a good thing for us to do, as well as communicate with our customers and our employees. We closed the lobby March the 18th. We closed it down, and all of a sudden we were accustomed to people coming in to establish service, to disconnect service, and so all of a sudden we had to be able to deal with those customers in another way. So over the phone, using FaceTime, other mediums to communicate with them, so we can still do the things we need to do to provide essential services to our customers.
So let's transition to, we're at this point now where the governor's outlined this phased approach to reopen business. What does that look like for you? I mean, is there a date you have in mind when we might be able to have a technician come into our home?
I do not have a date in mind. Again, our primary concern is our employees and our customers, their safety. And I realize that not being able to enter a home provides some unique challenges. I do think that we've already had some discussion about coming up with a plan for getting back into homes. There's no rush to do that because, I mean, we have been productive, and we are able to take care of customers like we helped you out. And we're able to do that for a lot of people. So there's no urgency, I don't think, but there is an expectation, I'm sure, from our customers that we're able to get into those homes to help them out. So we're going to be talking about that with our leadership team to figure out what's the right timing, because there may be customers that don't want us in their home. You know, they're still concerned about this pandemic, justifiably so. So we're going to have to work out the personal protective equipment that we wear. I mean, there are some things that will probably never, ever be the way that they once were. I mean, we've started talking about how can we put up protections in our lobby once we open the door, so that if a customer coughs or sneezes, or if our employee coughs or sneezes, how we create a barrier so that there's that infection is not, or that virus is not passed. So there's some things we're going to have to do differently. And if we weren't as productive, I think, as we are, then there'd be more urgency, I think, in getting people back into the office. But I think that we've been pretty productive, and so there's not going to be a big hurry to do it. We're going to obviously follow the governor's leadership on some of those things, and make sure we're not going to get in a hurry, but we'll do it in a very safe, measured manner. Yeah.
Well, you know, obviously the news cycle every day is dominated by pandemic information, as it should be.
Right.
But there are other things that are going on in the world too. And in the midst of this, you know, you guys announced probably one of the most progressive initiatives, and I say that with the understanding that you guys are a very progressive institution. I mean, from birth.
Yeah.
You know, we were the fourth, fifth city in America to offer internet access to every home.
Yeah.
And that was 96?
97.
97.
So I've heard third, I've heard fifth. We'll take an average of 4.
We'll take a 4.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about that, Arkansas seldom gets recognized for innovation in technology, but here in Conway, we've sort of taken for granted that we've had access to broadband, basically, when there are parts of the United States that still don't have it. 20 plus years later. So in the midst of the pandemic, you guys announced, again, something extremely progressive. So I wanted to, you know, spend the last bit of this time together talking about that, so people understand it and understand why it's important.
Yeah. So we announced, we had a special board meeting in April to seek authorization to execute a 20-year fixed price purchase power agreement for a 132 megawatt DC, 95 megawatt AC solar project.
Okay, so help people understand what
direct current versus...
Well, no, the megawatt, the size of this.
Sure, yeah.
So what does that mean from a size standpoint? How big is that?
Yeah, just to give you a perspective, you know, we also, a little bit earlier, you know, we own a 1 megawatt facility at Blaney Hill, the former landfill. It's 1 megawatts. It does about solar. Yeah, solar. And so we've got it. We've got pictures of it. You can drive by and look at it. We're going to partner with the city, I think, they're going to do a bike trail on that facility. So it'll be a really nice area, but that'll power about 150 homes.
Okay.
This facility, to give you some indication of the magnitude, has enough electricity for about 21,400 homes.
Wow.
So it's about 24% of our total load.
Okay.
So it's a big project.
So almost a quarter of the total electric load of the city.
Yeah, almost a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, almost a quarter. And if there is a city our size in our region of the country doing something this size, I'm not aware of it. There may be, but I'm not aware. You see a lot of 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts, and those are good. Now, those are important projects for sure, but we're talking about, you know, 10 times.
And so for those of you who are sort of keeping score, and I've told Bret, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but there are definitely communities that like to say our city is green. Our city's completely powered by solar energy. And what you have to understand is it a capital C city or a lowercase c? Because there's a difference. And what most of these communities are saying is that their municipally owned buildings are powered by solar energy, but not the greater community. And so this is a massive, massive deal
Yeah.
because we're talking about enough power for almost a quarter of the
Yeah.
whole municipality.
Yeah, that's true. And just to give you just a little context on the process, I mean, there were reasons why we did this. It wasn't just a PR move. It wasn't just something so we could have something to announce. It was a very measured process. We had a strategic plan with our board, and they said, hey, you need to investigate and evaluate how you can incorporate or integrate renewable energy into your power supply portfolio. And so we said that makes good sense. And we did an integrated resource plan that we started in 2018. And that integrated resource plan, among other things, suggested that we evaluate or add 80 to 100 megawatts of a long-term solar purchase power agreement into our power supply mix. And so that's what we pursued. So we really started it with discussions with our board. We had an integrated resource plan that took about a year to do. In May of 2019, we issued an RFP. We had 100 projects to screen. So a lot of interest. A lot of people were trying to take advantage of the 30% investment tax credit, and they knew that they could kind of get this project in the queue.
And that was a federal program,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct. So it knocks 30% right off the top of the project. And so we had a lot of interest in that, and we decided to partner with LightSource BP, and they're going to build this facility about 45 minutes from here in White County, in a little place called Happy, Arkansas.
All right.
It's unincorporated. It's just close to Searcy,
Sure.
but that's where it's going to be built.
And what kind of investment will they make in a facility of this size?
Yeah, what you mean if I would estimate what
if you
that
were
would
going to
cost?
estimate their capital investment.
I would guess that project is somewhere between 100 to 120 million dollars.
Wow.
That's before the credit,
Sure,
of course.
sure.
But I would guess between 100 and 120 million
Sure.
dollars is what that project will cost.
And so, you know, you and I have talked before about in the economic development world, we're increasingly seeing prospective companies ask questions about renewables. You know, what do you have renewables
Right.
in your energy portfolio? And
Sure.
so I know that was something you guys were thinking about ahead of time.
Yes, we want to certainly be a part of economic development. We want to do what we can to help recruit industry to Conway, jobs, whatever the case may be. And we didn't want, right off the bat, as these companies, if they have corporate sustainability goals, we did not want them to go, well, hey, we love Conway, but they don't have any renewable energy
Right.
that helps us meet our corporate sustainability goals. And so this helps tremendously with that.
And so when does this project come online?
Sure.
And when will that start becoming a part of the portfolio?
Good question. It takes longer than you might imagine. The actual construction process is, I think, about 9 to 12 months. We expect it to come online December of 2022, but they have to do, we're in the MISO, Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. It's a regional transmission organization that manages the bulk electric system from Canada down to Louisiana. It's kind of a swath through middle America, which we're in. And so they manage the bulk electric system, and so they have to do a very in-depth interconnection study to see how that energy and electricity is going to be injected into the bulk electric system. So that is a very arduous, time-consuming process. And so once they get through that, then they can begin construction. But anyway, long story short, December 2022 is when we expect it to come online. We're really excited about that. And I got to say, you know, our director of power supply, Michael Chapman, and his team worked extremely hard on this project, and they saw it through from beginning to end. And I just wanted to brag on him for just a second.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we've covered a lot of ground today, but one of the things we did want to do was talk about the solar project. Conway Corp is an incredible partner for us on economic development, an incredible asset for the city. And so thank you for taking some time with us today to talk about, you know, what we've seen and what we're going to see in the future.
Could I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
A little off topic, but I did want to mention, you know, obviously there are some difficult times right now, and our board is really so very, I guess, sensitive to the needs in our community. And so at our last board meeting, they authorized us to donate $50,000 to fund 5 $10,000 grants through the Conway Gives Coalition. You know, that includes the Ministry Center, Salvation Army, CAPCA, COHO, and some others, as they're trying to prevent people from being homeless.
Okay.
And so the stipulations are, in fact, we wrote a $10,000 check today. And so the stipulations are the recipients of those funds must be in the city limits of Conway, and this is for individuals. They must be in the city limits of Conway, and it must be used for rent, food, or common corp utilities, one of those three things. But just very generous
Right.
of our board, and so I wanted to let people know about that if they're
Yeah,
looking
absolutely.
for you know, we're not shutting people off right now. We've temporarily suspended disconnects, but I know there's other costs out there, and so
And
very
so they would
gracious
need
of our
to,
board.
they would need to go where to access those
Yeah,
funds,
I
apply?
would. Yeah, there is a coalition through Conway Gives.
Okay.
I'm sure they could reach out to the United Way,
Okay.
or CAPCA, or Conway Gives, and they could give them the process that they should go through if there's a need to have any of those funds. So I just wanted to mention that. It
Yeah,
might be a good way to let
absolutely.
people know about how we can
Yeah.
help them out, or how they can help them out
Sure.
through these funds that
Sure.
have been gifted to them. So.
Well, Brett, thank you as always for being a great community partner,
Sure.
and thanks for spending some time with
You
us.
bet. Glad to do it.